Hey everybody, some people were asking for a DIY on how to replace the brakes, pads and rotors on the newer Gen 2 NSX. So I was just getting ready to clean up the car from my last track day, and I thought I'd vlog this for you. I am not a vlogger nor a video editor, so please don't critique the quality of this video, but hopefully you can get a good overview on how to take care of this pretty straightforward job. It's a lot easier than it might sound if you've not done it before. So let's go over first our tools that we're going to need. It always helps to have some power tools. We've got a little bit of high temp grease here that we'll use to put on the hubs, because the hubs on the NSX really like to get rusty. Some cleanup stuff, breaker bar, ratchet, torque wrench. We've got a punch that we're going to use for removing the pins on the brake pads. Hammer for that as well. These pins are invaluable for taking the wheels off and protecting your brake rotors, especially if you have the carbon ceramics. Makes it a lot easier to get the wheels on and off without banging them on anything. I'm going to need two 14mm sockets, a 10mm socket, and a 10mm H10 hex here for the rears. Screwdriver, some anti-seize. I like to put that on a couple of things as we put it back together. Lift certainly helps, but you can absolutely do this with a jack, one wheel at a time. So let's get started. All right, let's get the wheel off first. And if you don't have these pins, I highly recommend them. Acura part, I think, comes with unequal length. These are both the same length. They're actually from my Porsche, but they fit perfectly and work great. Always good just to hold the wheel. Get that last one out. And it slides right off. No damage to anything. Tires look alright. They're going to need to be replaced sometime soon. Here's some nice, I don't know if you can see that with the lighting. Some more lighting. Chunks of rubber from my last track day on there. Filling up the wheel. We'll get that cleaned off later. Alright. Alright, let's start with the pads. You have two pins here and here that just need to be banged out. They come out pretty easy. Let's use a punch, try not to damage the caliper. And then you should be able to pull it out. Might push a little bit on the tension spring here. That comes out. And then the bottom one, a little bit of a tap. If we loosen up the pads here by just pulling them out towards you, it makes it a little easier to get the spring out. And then the bottom pin comes right out. Alright, taking a closer look here. The pads just slide in. Brilliant design in my opinion. Most Brembos are like this. And again, when I'm replacing pads, I do them one at a time. I pull back so that the pistons are all the way in. Pad comes out easily. These aren't going to be replaced, but I always like to take them out after a good track day and just inspect them, make sure they're not a little bit of a surface crack on this one, but nothing I'm concerned about. And then you're going to put the new one in and push back the other one. If you do them one at a time, it makes it real easy. That way you don't fight with the pistons coming back out at each other, and you can get those done real easy. So since I'm not doing new ones, I'm gonna just pull these back out, measure those up, and see what kind of wear we got on the last track day. All right, when it comes to getting the calipers off, if you're gonna do your rotors, there's really only a few things you need to do. There's these two hex bolts, H10s, on both the front and back rotors are the same size. Different torque specs, but I will go through that later. There is one bolt, right, see if I can get a light here for you. There's one bolt right here that you want to take out. That allows you to get this hard line to soft line connector loose, so that when you pull the caliper up, it moves out of the way real nice. Over on this side, on the rears, obviously you have your parking caliper, and that's pretty simple as well. We're gonna remove this connector here, just push down on the tab and pull. Sometimes it's easier than other times. There's a tab on the back here. If I can get my finger in it. I have to grab a screwdriver. I'm gonna. Not sure why that decided to be a problem for me, but let me just give you a close-up on how you actually get this to unlock. You just put the screwdriver right there, twist it forward a little bit, and that'll release the lock and let you pull that off. Alright, now we've got two bolts. One here is a 12 millimeter on top. I think I said 10 earlier, but that was, 12. And this is a 14 down here on the bottom. So those two bolts we'll take out next. Alright, two bolts out. And there's your brake caliper assembly for the emergency brake. Okay, next step, we're going to take out the bolt that holds on the soft line to hard line connector here, soft line to hard line. And that is a straight through bolt, so there's actually a nut on the back side here. That threw me off the first time I did this. Get that out. That. Next up, we're gonna get the caliper out. It's pretty straightforward. I want a breaker bar for this. These are at 89 foot-pounds, so a little bit of effort to get them off. Not too bad. before I take those bolts all the way out, I'm going to string up just a simple piece of wire here to hang that caliper from. Noticed. Yeah, that's okay. I thought the boot was loose, but it's okay. Make sure you hold on to the caliper as this last bolt comes out. They're not heavy, but you don't want it falling down and tugging on that brake line. So then I just take the wire, hang it there. Look at that, hanging it from the shock. Everything looks good. I usually check my dust covers and everything, make sure they look okay. Alright, now we'll take the rotor off. It's pretty straightforward. I like to use this to break the screws loose. It's just less chance of stripping it. They're not super tight, but it'll be hard to get off with just a screwdriver. Just these two bolts or screws right here. If you have any extra corrosion on there, you might have to tap the rotor with a hammer, but this came out nicely. Got a little bit of corrosion here that we're going to clean up. I don't know if you can see that real well, but there's a little bit of rust in there. These hubs like to rust up. They're pretty known for that. You can see that I've got some red bearing grease just on this one, just to kind of keep the rust down. It needs to be applied each time though. Whenever you have this apart, it doesn't last forever. So I'll use a little bit of safety goggles on. Just clean this up a little bit. Hit it with a wire wheel. This corrosion is known to cause a ticking sound if you've had that or read about it. Cleans up real nice if you do this once in a while. If you let it go a couple of years, it's probably a little bit more work. Alright. That's all there is to it. Put this back together. This is just some bearing grease. I don't use it for bearings anymore since my fingers have been in and out of it, but just put a really light layer around here. Try to avoid getting in or too close to the bolt holes. It's not the end of the world, but it's probably not a good idea to have grease in there. Real thin layer, you don't want it squishing out and going everywhere. here. I'll also put some of this, after I clean up this same hub carrier spot on the wheel, put a little bit on there too. This in here just is a nice layer to keep it from rusting up. It's not a contact surface, but makes me have a warm fuzzy. All right. Take a quick look at my rotors. Everything looks good. Alright. Put it on, line it up. Whoops, don't drop it. I like to start these screws just with a hand screwdriver and then give them a little torque with the hammer drill. Okay. Oops. I put just a little dab of anti-seize on these. This car doesn't see any snow or anything, so it probably is not necessary, but what the heck, can't hurt. Forgot to put it on this one. Do not use anti-seize on the lug studs. Quick little torque. Those don't need to be super tight because the studs hold the rotor on anyway. And then we will just reverse the order of what we were doing. Wow, we took it apart. I'm gonna clean this up just a little bit while I have it apart for the heck of it. Just some simple green. Not gonna be perfect, but this is not a show car. I tracked the hell out of this car. Never taken it to a Cars and Coffee or a car show or anything, so. That little 87 930 over there that I usually reserve for the event. Alright. We will line this up, put the bolts back in. I like to torque as I go. Some people will put all their bolts in and then torque them all at the same time. Whatever your preference. I'm getting old, so I always worry I might forget one. These are 89 pound-foot. the bolt back in for the soft line to hard line coupler. This one we torqued to 47 pound-feet. Oops, if you have the right socket. Wire out of here. Alright, put this back on. The smaller head bolt goes on top. You can't see with it, but it's pretty straightforward. Can't seem to do this one-handed, so I'm gonna put the camera back over. These also, parking brake bolts also go 47 pound-feet. Snug those with the ratchet first. connector back on. All right. And that, my friends, is how you replace the rotor. Give you a quick overview on the pads. Putting those back in is real simple. The one with the wear sensor on it is on the back. Slide those in. Gotta get a different hammer here quick. Alright, you can do this either way. I usually put the bottom one in first. I like to use a rubber mallet for this in case I miss when I'm pounding it in, but it's pretty much guaranteed to happen. Just just barely not flush on the back, and then that's when it's in all the way. And your spring goes in with the hooks this way towards the outside. I just see if I can get a good shot of that. Goes underneath the pin. And that's going to bend up a little here. And then we'll put the other pin in to hold that. Just helps to push on the spring a little bit with one hand till you get it lined up. There we go. And tap that one in too. Everybody's got a trick to doing this that I haven't figured out yet. Go for it, but usually it's just a matter of muscling it a little bit. There we go. Flush. Make sure your spring is centered on that pin. There's a couple of little indentations just to keep it in the middle. And there is our finished work. That's it. Show you one difference on the, actually two differences on the front side. You have an extra pin here on the front, and that has a 13mm bolt on the back of it. 45 foot-pounds when you tighten it back up. I need to look up the, I want to say these are 95, but I'm going to look that up and I'll just put that in text on the video when I edit it. And then back here, your soft line to hard line converter is just in a slightly different spot. But again, you want to take that bolt out. That is a smaller bolt. I'm not sure. I'll double check the torque on that one as well. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I want to say it's about 30 foot-pounds. Other than that, same procedure. Brakes are just a little bigger, obviously. And this spring does have an up arrow. I don't know what difference that makes, but it is there. If you have carbon ceramics, there'll also be an electrical wear connector that you'll have to disconnect and reconnect when you replace the pads. But other than that, that is a brake and rotor job on a 2017 very dirty track beaten Gen 2 NSX. Hope this was helpful.